Most people think they're afraid of being alone. They're not. What they're really afraid of is what might be waiting for them in the silence. 3 years ago, a man named Noah Carter disappeared for 21 days. When he came back, he sold his apartment, deleted every social media account he owned, quit his job, and stopped answering most of his friends. People thought he had a breakdown. Some believed he joined a cult. Others thought he had lost his mind. But whenever someone asked what happened during those 21 days, he always gave the same answer. I finally met the person I'd been running from my entire life. Nobody understood what that meant, until years later when his journal was discovered. And that's where this story begins. Noah was 33 years old, successful, popular, always busy. The kind of person who never seemed alone. His phone received hundreds of notifications every day. Every weekend was booked. Every night there was a dinner, a meeting, a date, or a party. People described him as confident, charismatic, social. But there was something nobody noticed. Noah never spent time alone, not even for 5 minutes. The moment he woke up, he turned on music. While driving, he listened to podcasts. While eating, he watched videos. While working, there was always background noise. While sleeping, the television stayed on. Every second of every day had to be filled. Anything was better than silence. Anything was better than being alone with his thoughts. Then one winter, everything changed. His company sent him to a remote weather station in northern Alaska. 21 days. No city, no nightlife, no social media, almost no internet, no distractions. The moment he arrived, he regretted it. The station stood alone in the middle of endless snow. Only 6 employees worked there. Most barely spoke. The silence felt unnatural, heavy, almost alive. The first few days were difficult. The 5th day was worse. By the 7th day, Noah was sleeping less than 3 hours a night. Without constant stimulation, time itself felt different. Slower, darker, more uncomfortable. Then, on the 8th night, something happened. At exactly 2:17 a.m., Noah woke up suddenly. His heart was racing. Not because he heard something, because he felt something. The overwhelming feeling that someone was standing outside his room, watching, waiting. He sat upright in bed. The room was silent. The hallway was empty. Everything looked normal, but the feeling wouldn't go away. So he walked to the window and looked outside. At first, nothing. Only darkness, snow, and endless wilderness. Then he saw them. Footprints. A single trail of footprints leading from the forest toward the station. Noah stared at them. Then his stomach dropped. The footprints stopped at the station. There were no footprints leading away. Whoever made them had arrived, but never left. The next morning, he told the station manager, an older man named Walter, quiet, observant, the kind of man who always seemed to know more than he said. Walter listened carefully, then smiled. But it wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone remembering something unpleasant. "You're not the first person to see them." Noah frowned. "What do you mean?" Walter looked out the window, then answered softly, "Every winter, someone notices the footprints. And every winter, they start remembering things." "What things?" Noah asked. Walter looked directly into his eyes. "The things they've spent their entire lives trying to forget." That night, Noah couldn't stop thinking about those words. And little by little, the memories started returning. Old conversations, old mistakes, old wounds. Each day they became stronger, darker, more painful, until one night he dreamed about his father, a memory he hadn't visited in years. He saw himself standing by the front door as a child, watching his father leave, hearing the promise, "I'll be back soon." But he never came back. Noah woke up shaking, and for the first time in years, he admitted something to himself. Part of him had never stopped waiting. Suddenly everything made sense. Every relationship, every friendship, every fear of rejection, every desperate need to feel wanted. All of it came from the same wound: abandonment. The next evening, the footprints appeared again, closer than before, ending directly beneath his window. And this time, there was something else. A figure, standing motionless between the trees, watching the station, watching him. Noah's pulse exploded. The figure never moved, never spoke, never looked away. It simply waited. Finally, Noah grabbed his coat, opened the door, and stepped into the frozen darkness. Step by step, he walked toward the figure. 20 feet away, 10, 5. Then suddenly, the figure turned and disappeared into the forest. Noah ran after it, deeper into the darkness, deeper into the snow, until he reached a frozen lake. And there, everything changed. Noah stood at the edge of the frozen lake. The wind had stopped. The forest was silent. Even the air felt different. The figure was gone. No footprints, no movement, nothing. Only Noah and the frozen lake. Then he looked down, and for a brief moment, he thought he saw someone staring back at him beneath the ice. Not his reflection, not a stranger. A child, a frightened little boy, standing alone, waiting, watching. Noah's breath caught in his throat because he recognized him instantly. It was himself, 8 years old, the day everything changed. Suddenly, the memories crashed into him, not one at a time, all at once. His father walking away, the empty seat at dinner, the birthdays spent hoping, the unanswered phone calls, the disappointment, the loneliness. Then something even deeper surfaced, a decision, one he had made without realizing it. If people leave, I'll make sure I'm never alone again. Noah closed his eyes, and for the first time, he understood. That single belief had controlled his entire life. Every relationship, every friendship, every late night text, every desperate attempt to keep people close, every fear of rejection. His life wasn't built on love, it was built on fear. Fear of abandonment, fear of being forgotten, fear of being left behind. Suddenly, the footprints made sense, the figure made sense, the memories made sense. Nobody had been following him, nobody had been watching him, nobody had been hiding in the forest. He had been chasing a part of himself, a wounded part, a forgotten part, a child he abandoned years ago, the child who never healed, the child who never felt safe, the child who never stopped waiting. And standing there beside the frozen lake, Noah finally stopped running. No music, no phone, no distractions, no people, just silence. Minutes passed, then an hour, then another, and something strange happened. Nothing. The silence didn't destroy him. The loneliness didn't consume him. The darkness didn't swallow him whole. Because the thing he'd feared his entire life was never loneliness. It was facing himself. Facing the pain he'd spent decades avoiding. Facing the child he'd left behind. 3 days later, Noah left Alaska. But he wasn't the same man who had arrived there. Months passed. Friends noticed the changes. He no longer panicked when someone didn't reply. He no longer checked his phone every few minutes. He no longer felt desperate for attention. He no longer needed noise to fill every second of the day. For the first time in his life, he could sit alone and feel peace. Years later, someone asked him what he had discovered in Alaska. Noah smiled, a genuine smile, the kind that only appears after surviving something painful. Then he answered, "I spent my whole life looking for someone to save me from loneliness. Then I realized the person I was waiting for was me." Years passed, and Noah often thought about those footprints, until one day he finally understood something he'd never realized before. The footprints had never started in the forest, at least not psychologically. They started much earlier, the day his father left, the day a frightened child made a decision. If people leave, I'll make sure I'm never be alone. That belief quietly controlled everything. His friendships, his relationships, his fear of silence, his addiction to attention, his need to be needed. Then Noah realized something terrifying. Most people don't suffer from loneliness. They suffer from the fear of loneliness. And those are not the same thing. Because fear changes behavior. Fear makes people stay in relationships that hurt them. Fear makes people tolerate disrespect. Fear makes people chase people who don't love them. Fear makes people beg for attention. Fear makes them abandon themselves before anyone else gets the chance. And suddenly, everything made sense. The loneliest period of Noah's life wasn't Alaska. It was all the years before Alaska. The years he spent surrounded by people, while completely disconnected from himself. Because loneliness is not the absence of people. It's the absence of a relationship with yourself. And maybe that's why so many people feel empty today. Not because nobody loves them, not because they're alone, but because they've spent years becoming strangers to themselves. The truth is, the worst prison isn't being alone. The worst prison is needing someone else to escape yourself. But the story didn't end there. Years after Walter died, the station was permanently closed. The building was abandoned, forgotten beneath snow and ice. While clearing Walter's office, workers discovered dozens of old journals. One journal for every winter. One journal for every person who had reported seeing the footprints. Different names, different lives, different stories. But every journal ended the same way. Each person eventually discovered the same thing. They weren't running from loneliness. They were running from themselves. Then, investigators opened Walter's personal journal. The final page contained only one sentence. The footprints never appear outside the station. They appear when someone is finally ready to see them. And maybe that's true for all of us. Because somewhere inside every person, there is a version of themselves they've spent years avoiding. A wounded version, a frightened version, a forgotten version. And no matter how far we run, no matter how busy we become, no matter how many people surround us, those footprints keep following, waiting for us to finally turn around and face them. The question is, when that day comes, will you keep running, or will you finally stop and listen?